Good afternoon, Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emma Graham, please. And I cover the Middle East for CNBC. I'm so happy, day 3 of Abu Dhabi Finance Week. I'm so happy to be joined here today with His Royal Highness, Prince Khalid bin Al-Walid bin Talal Al Saud. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you all know, he's the founder and CEO of KBW Ventures, and he's one of the region's best-known venture capitalists. Prince Khalid, great to be sitting with you here on stage, and thank you to our hosts, ADGM.
Well, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salam ala Rasulullah. I'd love to thank ADFW for having me here, ADGM specifically, obviously, for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure to be amongst all the leaders, and I really look forward to this communication, and I love this new setup. People don't get to see my socks. So
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Nice to be behind a desk. It's like being on set at CNBC.
Exactly.
I'm very happy. And thank you all again for joining. So let's get right into it. The generative AI market, it's expected to grow by 1.3 trillion over the next 10 years. And AI investment could peak to as high as 4% of GDP in the US around 2032. So when you think about investing in AI, how do you look at sectors? And how do you decide what will really give you the best returns when you're looking at investing in a company?
So if we look at AI, we don't look at the companies that you use AI as a gimmick, but they have to use it on a fundamental level. And it has to be on a foundational level and a transformative level that, that affects certain markets that we're interested in specifically. And I'll give you a few examples. Healthcare and education. AI right now is as good as the average doctor or the average teacher. So imagine if you can scale that to underserved communities around the world for children in education, from an education standpoint. Every child can have a tailor-made educational platform, tailor-made for them and their specific needs. We all know that the education system isn't necessarily the most successful way to teach people because it uses a blanket approach for everyone, and everyone has their different needs. So AI really can solve that problem, and you'd have significant changes in the future by developing these specific AI tailor-made educational platform for kids. Now, let alone underserved communities, but also for the community as a whole. Look at healthcare. It's as good as the average doctor. So you can now democratize the information that any doctor can have around the world, and you can take it out to underserved communities. So the power of AI really is absolutely enormous, and this is why we're really excited about the future of companies that are using AI from a foundational level and not just really a gimmick.
It's really about doing good, and when you look at investing in AI, it's really what can make the most difference. And what, when you look at a startup, does it need to have for you to really say, yes, this is a play that I want to make?
So you have to have some sort of a clear vision. A vision without execution is just a hallucination. So you'd have to have some sort of vision that this AI can solve a real-world problem in whatever sector that you're interested in, and there are plenty of them. Scalability. So you'd have to have these AI models and these companies solve scalability issues when it comes to regional or local, regional, and then a global scale. And that's really part of what the philosophy of KBW Ventures is really looking at companies here in the region and internationally, seeing what kind of synergies we or they can bring to each other, and then extend that, that philosophy to other regions. So for example, if we're looking at companies like Queso is one of our companies, a Saudi-based company that's a SaaS company that focuses on food supply management for restaurants and the suppliers. So they predict customer interactions within a week, and they will predict what would this company need to supply up on for the weeks ahead or the months ahead. Anyway, so that's just one example. But what we would be looking at is having that company scale regionally, and then hopefully work to scale that internationally and bring that technology into the US getting US companies to come here and having some sort of presence in the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, or whatever.
So scalability,
Yeah.
that's
Scalability
really
for sure,
the key ingredient. You just invested in 2 new AI investments, Minerva and Hercules AI.
Yeah.
Tell me about those companies and
Sure.
kind of what made you look at them.
Sure. So Minerva is a platform that uses AI to predict consumer behavior and land prices for real estate companies. And it's shown very significant progress in the early days, and we were very excited about it, so we had to double down on it really and really invest in it. And then bring them obviously here. One of their main customers that we're working with is NEOM, for example. Obviously Riyadh and Dubai and Abu Dhabi would naturally be a perfect fit. Hercules AI is a fascinating platform that uses AI, generative AI, for healthcare, financial institutions, and whatnot, to aggregate customer information and give people information that they need and give these companies information that they need in a glance.
Many of your portfolio companies are AI-backed and using generative AI.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how those companies are looking at integrating AI into their workflow.
So there are a few companies that we have. A few of them, we're focused mainly on SaaS, for example. So SaaS plays a big role in what we look at. We look at obviously consumer behavior and predicting what consumer behavior would look like for certain companies. We have other ones in the healthcare industry, but mainly one of our main focuses actually is on cybersecurity. So we have a company in the cybersecurity field that uses AI to predict, to see early indications of any cyber threat, neutralize it, and do some sort of remediation for these threats, without really having an expert at the computer to actually solve these issues. So it really, again, it gives other people, not just the experts, but other people who are not necessarily that big of experts in cybersecurity, the ability to have this interaction and to have this job security. So we're talking about not only it being vastly efficient for companies, but also hiring people that aren't necessarily qualified to be hired in the traditional sense, but AI can help them facilitate that.
Are you worried about the impact of AI? Because I'm not. I think it becomes an opportunity. It's like the invention of penicillin, perhaps. The opportunities are endless, and it can save us a lot of time. Is there anything you're worried about when you look at this technology?
Honestly, general worries are there, but in a sense of what AI has shown and what history has proven from innovation and what innovation has done for humanity when it comes to the Industrial Revolution, to the dot-com revolution, to the Internet revolution, sorry, and then to the AI revolution. We've only seen increases in GDPs. We've only increases in spending. We've also seen increase in people's yearly wages. So I don't see necessarily a threat there, but I see an opportunity, and I do see an opportunity for specific companies to really open the reins a little bit and have open source AI really be a forefront rather than it being controlled by 3 or 4 strong players like likes of X.AI, Google, Anthropic, and OpenAI, obviously.
And we were talking about this a bit backstage. How are you using, just in your day-to-day and also in your work, how are you using AI on a daily basis?
So on the fly, if there's any information that I needed to know instantly, I would have a look at it, just like today. We had a quick discussion on it. But more importantly for me, I use it for note-taking.
Really?
I really do. I have, so we have a lot of meetings, obviously, that last maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And I have an AI, Fireflies, if you've heard of it. But summarize the meeting and give me all the key points that I needed to be, even if I couldn't attend them, as if I was there. So I can get a Reader's Digest approach on these certain meetings that I have, and I know roughly how these meetings went.
That's really useful.
Yeah.
It takes away the need for like multiple assistants. You can just rely on the technology.
It really does, yeah.
It's probably more accurate as well.
It's more accurate, and there's more efficiency there. There's no fatigue that happens, so it's always there at a glance. So there's a lot of efficiency and a lot of positives that I see happening from it, as opposed to the negatives that we keep seeing around the world.
I love it. Bullish,
Yes.
as we say.
Yes.
So you were an early investor in food tech. We did one of our first interviews together several years ago, and we were only talking about food tech. It
Yeah.
was pre-AI boom.
Yes.
And this was way before food tech was really trendy.
Sure.
But you knew, you kind of, back then you knew, and I know obviously you put this into your lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
How did you know that food tech was going to be such an important area for you to invest in?
So food tech, food security has been on the forefront, at least for in our company, for at least 8 to 9 years. And the reason isn't because of any crystal ball or any expertise that we had on predicting the future, but the world is growing and the resources aren't necessarily there to feed as many people. They are there, but that's another argument that I'm not going to get into right now.
We need more time.
We already know that. But we used just common sense and logic that innovation, technology, and food tech really were focused on efficiency and producing high-valued, nutritionally valued, low-cost getting there food sources that aren't accessible for the masses. So what do I mean by that? Factory farming. Factory farming is vastly inefficient. Food tech really solves that issue by cutting 90% of, maybe 99% of the land cost, about 90% of the food cost, of the water cost, the energy cost to really produce the same piece of protein that you'd get from an animal. Now, I don't say that that has to replace the way we eat. That's never going to replace the way we eat, and we're definitely going to be an animal-based society. But I think for scalability and for underserved communities and underserved continents or countries, this is a perfect example of how you can really get nutrition to the vast majority of people quickly and cheaply.
So much opportunity there. Before I let you go, I promised that I would ask you this, and you were very kind, and you said you'd let me.
Sure.
What do you think President-elect Donald Trump's new AI, the appointment of David Sachs as this AI crypto czar, and this is a new position, so we have no idea what it might mean, but what do you think it could mean for big tech?
So I think it's very pro-big tech. So the quick research that I had, because I know of him generally, but the quick research that I did of him, he comes from a really prominent business background. He has an amazing network of investors and partners that he's invested in, PayPal, Mafia, and whatnot, which I love that name, by the way.
Mafia?
Yeah.
They've gone on to do very well.
Exactly, yeah. So he's got a really good network. He's really prominent when it comes to free speech and decentralization. More importantly, well, not more importantly, equally as importantly, he's pro-crypto. Crypto democratizes the ability for people to invest into these other securities other than stocks and bonds and the traditional methods. So, for my standpoint, I think it's a great hire. I think he's definitely pro crypto. He's definitely pro AI. He's definitely pro innovation, and I think he would definitely lead the United States in the change that's going to happen in the next 4 years.
I love it. Before I let you go, what's your favorite platform that you're using for AI at the moment?
I honestly like X.AI. I use it a lot. I use Anthropic a little more also.
Love it. Prince Khaled, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Conversation
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.